There's trouble in paradise. Actually, would you even call Milan paradise? Especially after watching that performance. But boy, oh boy, I feel like Milan should have its own TV show because of the drama, because of the chaos, because of what's going on the pitch, off the pitch. But listen, you guys saw the clip. Conceição, Calabria, they are going at it. Club captain against club manager. I'm actually very intrigued to see what caused this little beef between the two. But anyways, Milan 3, Parma 2. If there was just one game approaching the end of the January transfer window that screams at Red Bird Capital, at Cardinale, at Zlatan Ibrahimovic, that this team, I'm not going to sit down and tell you guys that this team needs Jimenez. Listen, we all know that this team needs Jimenez. A performance that tells Milan's owners that this team needs serious investment. And when I say serious investment, I don't mean going out and signing players where their best years are past them. And now you're sat hoping you could get 1-2 good mediocre years out of them. No, this Milan team needs serious investment in terms of quality, but most importantly, in terms of attitude. And I feel like I'm a massive Rafa Leao fan, and I've always sang his praise recently when Milan do well and he performs. But you see, the $1 million question will always be, was Paulo Fonseca right? I feel like we need to just sit down and ask ourselves that question. Was Paulo Fonseca right? Fair enough. His football, the results, his relationship with the players, it wasn't the best. He walked into the club with this cutthroat approach. Couldn't get the players on his side. But the fact that we're now 4 or 5 games into Sergio Conceição's era at Milan, and all it took was a 45-minute performance against a team fighting relegation in Parma for him to take off Milan's 2 biggest of stars. Rafa Leao and Theo Hernandez both got subbed off on the 45th minute. Why? I feel like Theo Hernandez has just not been the Theo Hernandez this entire season. He's had nice moments, but they're very rare. Defensively, he's been shocking, but it's the attitude, it's the body language, it's the fact that he goes out there and just gives 10, 20%. He doesn't care whether this Milan team wins, loses, or draws. And it's a shame because he's a player that's shown on the top of his game, you can really make a case he's the best left back in the world. Rafa Leao is disappointing because I feel like midweek against Girona, I came out and I said it. I was like, you could see Leao is beginning to find his feet. Leao is buying into Conceição. Leao, he looks motivated. He looks like a player that wants to defy his critics. He looks like a player that's ready to tell everybody, Paulo Fonseca was wrong about me. Especially when he benched me and tried to phase me out of Milan. But you watch his performance against Parma and you're sat telling yourself, was Paulo Fonseca right? Was Paulo Fonseca right about Rafa Leao? And with Rafa Leao, I never questioned the ability. I never ever questioned the ability and what he's capable of. But I questioned the mentality. Because I look at it and I tell myself, when you know deep down you are the best player at this club, you are the franchise player, you are the guy that all Milan fans look at. When it isn't going well, everybody looks at Rafa Leao and says, can you save us? Can you be the player to drag us over the line? You are the best player. You are Mr. Franchise. You are Mr. Milan. And he's shown he can do it in the past. But when I see Rafa Leao come up against a team fighting relegation and he's struggling to win his duels, bearing in mind, he literally won 0 out of 8 duels, which is shocking for a player of his physique and his ability. Not winning his duels. Looking shocking on the ball. Can't beat his man. Can't make a simple pass, whether it's forwards, backwards, inwards. Not being a threat in the final third. Why? Why? It's not like you've come up against one of the best teams in Europe. And I feel like Conceição looked at it and told himself, listen, I'm about to take myself a big gamble. I'm about to take off Milan's 2 best stars. And bring in 2 players that are definitely subpar. Not as good. But as long as those players give me 100%, I can stand the chance of winning this game. Why did Milan beat Parma? I'll tell you guys one thing for free. It wasn't quality. It definitely wasn't quality. It definitely wasn't in terms of ability. It was fight. That's what it was. Fight is what won Milan this game. The fact that they kept going till the 90th minute, till the final whistle. You can have all the ability in the world. If you don't have fight and you don't have the mentality, it's useless. Mentality, attitude in football, it's so important because he rolled the dice. He literally took off everybody. He took off Leao, he took off Theo, he took off Morata. He was bringing on young players. He brought on Chukwueze, who hardly appeared under Fonseca. He brought on Tammy Abraham, he brought on Benacer. He was just rolling the dice. He was throwing the kitchen sink at it because he knew this was a game that he can win as long as his players just gave him 70, 80% fight. Concentration. Pavlovic, it's crazy because he's like, even till now, he's a player that's still being rumoured to leave Milan. But as wild as this may sound, he looked like Milan's best attacker. He was the guy that created the most chances. He was the guy that won a penalty. He was the guy that assisted the final goal. He was the guy that even scored an offside goal. He was just a pest. But he was one player where, as much as you might look at him and say, defensively there's flaws to him, he gives you 100%. And you could see Pavlovic being locked in and given 100% to Milan is what helped them secure victory against Parma. And that's where I feel like people look at Rafa and they look at Theo Hernandez and they're like, why can't you guys give 100%? Why can't you guys give 100%? What is it? Is it money? Is it a lack of motivation? Is it a lack of interest? What do you need? Everybody blamed Paulo Fonseca. Paulo Fonseca left. New manager came in, yet you guys still look disinterested. You guys are very inconsistent with your performances. In order for Milan to improve, they need their best players to be performing on a consistent of basis. But like I said, if there was one performance if there was one 90-minute performance to put in a hall of shame, and then you send it off to Red Birth Capital and you say to them, watch this game and tell me what Milan needs, the game against Parma. Because I'll be honest with you guys, there were periods where Parma looked way more dominant in midfields. There were periods where Parma's attackers looked better than Milan's attackers, when we all know that isn't the case. Parma just went out there, they played their football, but they were fearless, they were hungry. Milan, I don't even think it's fair. I just think it's players that are not interested. Players that don't understand what it means to play for Milan. And I think that is probably the saddest part for any Milan fan, because you know what Milan stands for. You know what Milan has done in the past. It's got a rich history, this club. One of the most dominant forces in Italy. And now you've got players that just put on the shirt and just go out there to collect their money. And they don't care win, lose or draw. This team, as much as it might need reinforcements in terms of ability, it definitely needs reinforcements in terms of leadership. There is no leadership in this Milan team whatsoever. Like, when Milan were losing, I was just watching it and I was like, who's going to rally the troops? That's the best way that I can put it. Who's going to rally the troops? Who's going to turn around and tell the goalkeeper, tell the centre halves, look forwards, tell the midfielders, tell the number 9. Who's going to tell them, lock in? We're winning this game. Who is a player of that pedigree? Who is a player that these other Milan players are willing to listen to? And it could just be from the sheer fact that he's a leader. He's a motivator. There's no leadership in this team. And I'll be honest, I'm not just going to say this about Milan. I feel like in the Serie A in terms of leadership, in terms of mentality, it's not what it was when I was growing up and I was watching the Serie A. Like, I look at Milan and I'm like, there's zero leaders in this team. And there's a reason why they go on life and death with Parma. Juventus, there's no leaders in this team. There's a reason why they went life and death with Venezia just a month or two ago. There's no leaders in this team. And I'll be honest with you guys, when it comes to leadership, you got to pay the money. Because there's not many leaders in the modern game. And there's a reason why any team that has a leader in their squad, they don't let them go. They don't let them go. Because there's no price tag on leadership. It's one of the most important attributes every football team needs. And Milan seriously lacks it. But fight won Milan the game. Milan 3, Parma 2. Milan definitely need to act on the final week of the transfer window. Try get some reinforcements. Try get players of better attitude. Get Hernandez. Because Morata started and he was poor. Tammy Abraham came on and he was poor. Jovic came on and he was poor. This team needs a number 9. Badly. Now, if you're new, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to let me know what you think in the comments. And I'll catch you guys on another one.